Bangalore, and from 1977 onwards, Prabhuji is staying in ISKCON Juhu Temple, and from that time onwards, subsequently, he was assisting His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, His Holiness Loknath Maharaj in making life members, and he's continuing the process of His Holiness Sridhar Swami Maharaj also, and Prabhuji is continuing that service even today. He's making life members, at least 20,000 life members he has made till now for our movement. So somehow Prabhuji has here yesterday. He was here yesterday. He went to Pandharpur. Since he has to travel immediately, so Prabhuji agreed to speak for 5 to 10 minutes. So it's our. So let us express our gratitude to Prabhuji by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
नमो ओम विष्णु पदा कृष्ण पदाय पुतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत अमित नामने नमस्ते सद्गुम गौरवाणी विचारणे निर्विशेष शून्याद पश्चातारणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर स्वासादि गुरुंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुझे प्रभु जी ने मौका दिया है कुछ बोलने के लिए, मैं स्वीकार कर रहा हूँ। एक्चुअली
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम।
हाँ, अभी 2 दिन में इधर आया हूँ। मेरे को दो दिन से बहुत साल से बुला रहे राधा श्याम प्रभु आइए इधर, फिर मेंबरशिप के बारे थोड़ा 1 घंटा 1 आवर सेमिनार देना बोला, मेरे को समय नहीं मिलता है। अभी अचानक इसलिए मैं बॉम्बे से इधर आया, 1 दिन इधर रुका, राधा वृंदावन चंद्रा दर्शन हुआ, भक्तों का दर्शन हुआ, फिर कल पंढरपुर जाके उधर दर्शन करके आया। अभी मुझे जाने पड़ा, हमको सेवा मंदिर में वेट कर रहे हैं। उनका सेवा से वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ईच एंड एवरी डिवोटीज। सेवा को कभी हम लोग ना ये नहीं करना, माना नहीं करने का, सेवा के लिए पूछने का, टेम्पल अथॉरिटी प्लीज एंगेज मी, अदरवाइज माई कॉन्शियसनेस विल गो हियर एंड देयर, मेरा भावना इधर उधर जाएगा। हम भावना में हम एक कृष्णा चरण में रखना चाहते हैं बोल के हम लोग को हमेशा प्रार्थना करने का हमारा अथॉरिटी लोग को हमेशा हम लोग ओबीडियंट होना चाहिए, ओबीडियंट पर्सन होने चाहिए। इसलिए अदरवाइज नाउ आवर लाइफ इज टोटली वेस्ट। हमको if anybody wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, very simple 3 important things, very very important: determination, dedication, devotion. These 3 if you follow, nobody will tell you, everybody will tell you, oh, you're very very great, because you following these 3 things. 3 things is very important for our consciousness become very transparent. इसलिए हम लोग अभी कैसा है, अभी एक एग्जाम्पल, छोटा एग्जाम्पल है, और राधा श्याम प्रभु हाउ मच इज डेडिकेटेड इस एक्चुअली गुरुमुख का पद्मा वाक्य, राधानाथ स्वामी जो कुछ बोले वो फॉलो करते हैं, वो सबको वो बताते हैं। इसलिए हम लोग भी हमको एग्जाम्पल होने चाहिए। राधा स्वामी प्रभु, राधा श्याम प्रभु इज वेरी एग्जाम्पल। Each and every devotee is not, each and every ISKCON world, everybody knows Radha Shyam Prabhu, how much he is dedicated for serving Guru and Prabhupada. And he is giving he is not wasting single minute. हमको समय मिलेगा, हमको कुछ सेवा करनी चाहिए, नहीं ना? You can attend morning मंगलारती। मंगलारती में क्यों आना चाहते हैं हम लोग? मंगलारती में हम आएगा, भगवान हमको देखते हैं, हमारा जो कुछ अनवांटेड पूरा भगवान ले लेते हैं। इसलिए मंगलारती इज वेरी एसेंशियल, वेरी वेरी एसेंशियल, बिकॉज हम हमारा शरीर में है, आत्मा है, वो कभी भी बाहर चले जाएगा। हम कितना दिन हम लोग ब्रीथिंग करते हैं ना, वो भगवान की इच्छा है। अभी हम भगवान हमको आँख दिया है, कान दिया है, मुंह दिया है, क्यों? हम भगवान को दृष्टि देखने के। हम कभी भी किधर भी मंदिर में जाएंगे ना, पहले भगवान का चरण देखने चाहिए, चरण से ऊपर सब क्यों? चरण से है, चरण कमल इम्पोर्टेंट, इसलिए भगवान को चरण देखने चाहिए। ऐसे ही हम किसी को बाहर जाते हैं प्रचार करने के, आप किधर हैं, एक बार मंदिर में आइए, दर्शन कीजिए, आपका लाइफ, आपकी ज़िंदगी पूरा सफल होएगा। हाँ, सत्संग लेने चाहिए। ऐसे भक्त लोग है ना, सत्संग 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 वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सत्संग से क्या होता है, हमारा आत्मज्ञान बढ़ेगा। सिंपल सिंपल प्रोसेस, हमको कठिन नहीं है। प्रॉपर नेवर एवर गन कठिन इज ए सिंपल प्रोसेस। चैंटिंग एंड कीर्तन भगवान, ये करने का। चैंटिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। चैंटिंग के साथ में सेवा भी चाहिए। श्रवणम कीर्तनम वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सो हम लोग कितना श्रद्धा से करेगा उतना फायदा हमारे लिए। आप दूसरा के लिए नहीं करने का, आपको भले के लिए करो। इसो अब मेरे को समय ज़्यादा नहीं है, इसलिए मैं रिक्वेस्ट किया है प्रभु जी को, हमको जाने के, फिर दोबारा एक बार आऊँगा, आप लोग को सत्संग देंगे। कोई भी नहीं सोच, सीनियर नहीं सोचने थे। सीनियर वो जूनियर वो, हमारे अंदर आत्मा सबको एक ही है। जूनियर पे इतना बड़ा नहीं होते हैं। वो सरेंडर में कितना होते हैं, कितना सरेंडर है उतना बड़ा होते हैं। सरेंडर होने चाहिए। कोई भी बोलने चाहिए हाँ ये प्रभु जी इतना महान है, अबे राधे से महान है। Just to see his face, there is no any tension. Is very 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 lightening. उसको क्यों? उसका श्रद्धा है। प्रवचन प्रवचन, प्रीचिंग प्रीचिंग प्रीचिंग, सब लोग को बांटने चाहिए। प्रीचिंग इन द एसेंस। सो वी हैव टू डू प्रीचिंग। प्रचार करने के, हमारे जपा करने के, कुछ भी सेवा करो, झाड़ू मारो। झाड़ू कितना मारते हैं, हमारा आत्मा शुद्धि होते हैं। सो डोंट टिल ओ झाड़ू मारता हूँ, ये वेरी मीनियल सर्विस, नहीं सोचने का। वो क्लीन होते हैं, मतलब हमारा भी आत्मा क्लीन होते हैं। दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। एंड अदरवाइज यू से टेक ऑलवेज कृष्ण प्रसाद एंड वॉट एवर सेवा कर दीजिए। दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अभी मैं बॉम्बे में आई मेड 103 मुसलमान मेंबर को बनाया, 107 क्रिश्चियन को बनाया, मोर देन 300 पारसी लोग बनाया। Whomever I meet, I'll preach. I'll do only membership. Life membership क्या है? Life membership is no, life is temporary. Life membership is compulsory. Life from some life, life after life, only life membership. This is very important. अभी मैं किधर भी जाता हूँ, नया आदमी मिलता है, मैं तुरंत प्रचार करता हूँ। अगर मेंबर नहीं, मेंबर बन जाइए, आपको बहुत सुविधा मिलेगा, भक्तों को दर्शन मिलेगा, आपको सेवा में मिलेगा, आपको लाइफ भी अच्छा होगा। लाइफ में तो क्या है, लाइफ मेंबरशिप क्या है? लाइफ मेंबरशिप में आपको 3 दिन रहने के लिए व्यवस्था है ना। मंगल आरती में अटेंड करो, गुरु पूजा अटेंड करो, भागवतम अटेंड करो, फिर आपको महाप्रसाद भी मिलेगा। बाहर जाए तो होटल में कुछ ना कुछ खाता है, वो कुछ फायदा नहीं है। इधर तो प्रसाद है, भगवान का प्रसाद है। एनीवे, अभी मैं आपको देखे, सबको देखे मेरे को बहुत खुशी हो गया। आप लोग सब मिलकर मेरा आशीर्वाद करना, और भी आगे 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 मैं सेवा करना चाहता हूँ। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी से।
Hare Krishna. Let us thank His Grace Dhanvantari Prabhu by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. His Grace Dhanvantari Prabhu की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
कुछ भी है ना, सब चीज के लिए सबके लिए होते हैं। इधर सेल्फिश नहीं होने चाहिए। एक छोटा पांड है, पांड मतलब उसमें तालाब में एक बेबी फिश है, एक मम्मी फिश है। वो बेबी फिश पूछता है मम्मी फिश, वो हम लोग क्यों हमेशा पानी में रहते हैं? हम भगवान हमको ऐसा सुविधा करके रखे, हम लोग को वो लाभ उठाने के। हम लोग के फिश है, हम अंदर अच्छा तरफ लाइफ इस करते हैं। हम पानी से बाहर जाएगा, बहुत लोग बहुत सेल्फिश वाला है, हम लोग को कहा जाएगा हमको बी ए फिश, डोंट बी सेल्फिश। जस्ट उदाहरण दे रहा हूँ। से हम लोग है ना, हम अटैचमेंट नहीं होने चाहिए किसी से। अटैचमेंट है ना, वी आर एंटरिंग इन माया। वी डोंट वांट एनी अटैचमेंट, डिटैचमेंट। ऑलवेज अटैचमेंट इज वेरी डेंजरस। एंड नो नेम एंड फेम, just surrender, immediate, just surrender, nothing else. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We'll directly start with our prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, verse number 17. Taistani aghani puyante tapodana nadharmajam tadhridayam Tadapi Shangri Sevaya. Today we'll directly go to the word for word meaning and go ahead because we are a little bit short of time. Actually, we are very fortunate that we got to hear from Dhanvantari Prabhu. In the interest of time, we'll directly go to word for word meaning. Taihi, by those. Tani, all those. Aghani, sinful activities and their results. Puyanti, become vanquished. Tapaha, austerity. Dana, charity. Vrata adibihi, by vows and other such activities. Na, not. Adharmajam, produced from irreligious actions. Tat, of that. Hridayam, the heart. Tat, that. Api, also. Isha Angri, of the lotus feet of the Lord. Sevaya, by service. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot the material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. Purport. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.42, Bhakti Pareshanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra Cha. Devotional service is so powerful that one who performs devotional service is immediately freed from all sinful desires. All desires within this material world are sinful, because material desire means sense gratification, which always involves action which is more or less sinful. Pure bhakti, however, is anyabhilashata shunya. In other words, it is free from material desires, which result from karma and jnana. One who is situated in devotional service no longer has material desires, and therefore he is beyond sinful life. Material desires should be completely stopped. Otherwise, all the one's austerities, penances, and charity may free one from sin for the time being, one's desires will reappear because his heart is impure. Thus, he will act sinfully and suffer. We'll just read the translation again. Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitamscha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I heartily welcome all of you to today morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. As Prabhuji was saying, you're all big fish, I am a small fish, and also selfish. You have so this is for my purification. Speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, this is for my purification. All of you are such senior devotees, and you all are actually a source of inspiration for me. So I seek your blessings so that I may be able to speak something. So at present, we are on the 6th canto, which focuses on how the Lord gives protection to his devotees. The 5th canto concluded with description of hellish planets, in which intense sufferings that the living entities have to go through because of engaging in fruitive activities, because of engaging in sinful activities. The intense sufferings that they have to go through were described. Maharaj Parikshit, being a very compassionate Vaishnava, he immediately asked, how will the living entities be freed? And to start with, Shukadeva Goswami started by saying that, okay, you can engage, for heavier sins, you can do heavier atonement. For lighter sins, you can do lighter atonement. There itself, Maharaj Parikshit said that these activities, such as performing some austerity, performing some atonement, they can make us free from sinful reactions for some time, but they don't remove the sinful desires from our heart. Jai. Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai Sudarshan Dev ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. So these activities, they don't free the living entity from the desires to commit sins again and again. It is like the bathing of an elephant. And Shukadeva Goswami was very happy with that because that is, Shukadeva Goswami is a pure devotee, right? Completely free from any tinge of any kind of fruitive activity, any kind of fruitive desire. So Shukadeva Goswami was in ecstasy just by hearing this. And later on he went, okay, tapasa brahmacharyena, shamena cha, damena cha, that, okay, we can perform austerities, we can perform controlling the mind, all of that. But Shukadeva Goswami himself said that even these activities, it's like burning the weeds or burning the grass and bamboo forest while still the seeds remain within the ground. And as soon as favorable circumstances come, then immediately the seeds sprout and again the fruitive activities begin. So he did not recommend that also. And what he recommended was pure devotional service. So first we saw that in the discussion between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami, this point came that fruitive activities, simply dry tapasya and all, that cannot free one from sinful desires. Now, then, in order to substantiate this, Shukdev Goswami told the story of Ajamil, how he lived a completely sinful life. But by good fortune, by the direction of the Lord, he had named his youngest son Narayan. This is the principle. Whatever we are attached to the most, that is what we'll remember at the time of death. And the Lord knew that this person is going to remember his son at the time of death. That is why he inspired him to name him Narayan. And as the Lord had predicted, right, at the time of death, when the Yamdutas came to snatch the soul from Ajamil's body, he chanted loudly in a helpless state. He chanted the name of Narayan, Narayan. He just called out to his son. And immediately the Vishnudutas came and they stopped the Yamdutas from taking him any further, right? And there was a wonderful discussion between Vishnudutas and Yamdutas regarding what is the true nature of dharma. Again, for the second time, now the Vishnudutas are explaining to the Yamdutas that fruitive activities, austerities, tapasya, they cannot make a person completely free from sinful desires. They cannot remove the root of sin. So this is the second time. Then the third time again this will come when Yamaraj instructs his followers, right? Again the same thing will come. So we see, right, when something is described 3 times, how important is it? How important it is. So this point that only by pure devotional service can the sinful tendencies be completely removed. That is so important. So when we want to solve a particular problem, right? We want to solve the problem of suffering, right? That is what began this conversation. Parikshit Maharaj wanted to solve the problem of suffering of the living entities. And that is why he asked these questions, right? So if we want to solve a particular problem, and this is the answer given by Shukdev Goswami, right? If we want to solve a particular problem, we have to understand the root cause. For example, if somebody is having a boil somewhere, right? If we simply apply some ointment, the boil may go away, but the blood is impure, which is actually causing the boil to come. So if we have not purified the blood, then the boil will come again. It will come in some other place, then it will come in some other place, because the blood is impure. Similarly, what is actually causing a person to act sinfully? What is actually causing? It is very important to understand that in order to solve the problem. We want to solve the problem of suffering, so we have to understand what causes suffering. So this is explained in her prayers to Lord Shri Krishna. Queen Kunti, she gives so many reasons why Lord Krishna appears. And one of the reasons that she says that you appear is Bhavesmin kleshyamananam avidyak karmabihi Shavana smaranarhani karishan niti kechana. She says, my dear Lord, you have come here to remove the sufferings of the living entities. And she gives a very nice analysis of what is causing the sufferings of the living entities. What she is saying is, avidya, kama, karma. Right? This leads to klesha. It starts with avidya. What is avidya? The real fact, real vidya is that jivera swarupa hoy krishnera nityadas. I am eternally nitya. I am eternally a small part and parcel, completely a servant of Krishna. Completely spiritual, being a servant of Krishna. By nature, spirit soul is pure. Right? But the spirit soul, when the spirit soul wants to enjoy using the gross and subtle body, the spirit soul comes under ignorance. Why the spirit soul comes under ignorance? Because of the desire to enjoy using the gross and subtle bodies. Because the spirit soul has the desire to enjoy independent of the Lord gives him a gross and subtle body. So that, okay, here is a chance that using this gross and subtle body, try to enjoy. Now, because the spirit soul is identifying with the gross and subtle body, that is avidya. And because of this misidentification, see, it is the nature of the living entity to be happy. Satchidananda, Lord is complete, an ocean of Satchidananda. We are tiny Satchidananda. But it is the nature of a living entity to be happy. But because the living entity is misidentifying with the gross and subtle body, it is trying to find happiness through these gross and subtle bodies. That is avidya. That is kama, trying to enjoy Lord's property. Srila Prabhupada says, the root of sin is the tendency to desire, the tendency to enjoy the Lord's property, disregarding his proprietorship. So we are having that karma, and that leads to, so we will engage in activities to fulfill those desires, right? Whether so-called pious or so-called impious, right? But actually it is sin only, right? Because we are trying to enjoy the Lord's property. So that leads to karma, which is sinful acts. And because of engagement in sinful activities, that leads to suffering. Because a person has performed sins, he has gone against the desires of the Lord, he has gone against the proprietorship of the Lord, that leads to suffering. So papa, the living entity has performed papa. Papa leads to aprarabdha. That means unmanifested sins. Unmanifested sins. So many sins, unlimited living lives we have performed, so many countless, at least I have performed so many countless sins, right? So they are present in the form of aprarabdha, unmanifest. They will be present in an unmanifest form. And they result in two results. They give rise to two results. One is because of engaging in sins, there is prarabdha. There are sinful reactions. For example, if a person drinks alcohol, then he has to suffer for that, right? One is suffering in the body and mind that is caused here also, later on also, right? Yamdutas will suffer because he has broken the laws of the Lord, right? So that is prarabdha. But that is not the only thing that is happening. Because of drinking, that person is developing a habit to drink further, right? So that is giving further sinful desires, right? And these are becoming stronger and stronger. With every time the person engages in sin, the desire to commit sin, that is also becoming stronger and stronger. So because of committing sins, it is not that the person is only suffering. They are getting into a cycle of more and more sins, right? It leads to kutam, bijam, two stages of sinful desires. One is very, very unmanifest. The other one is more manifest, more direct. And then again that leads to papam. And then this cycle continues. So this is a very, very vicious cycle, right? Now, how do we break this cycle? It is said that by performing devotional service, all varieties of sins are completely destroyed. Whether they are in kutam stage, aprarabdha stage, whether it is prarabdha, all varieties of sins are completely destroyed by the performance of devotional service. There is an example in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam where the sons of Manu are described. So Manu had 10 sons. One of the sons of Manu was Prushadra. He was younger brother of Ikshvaku. So his name is Prushadra. Very powerful Kshatriya and very, very devoted to Brahmanical culture, protecting cows, Brahmanical culture. So with a sword in hand, he used to stand just to protect the cows at night. All night long he used to stand with a sword in hand. And one night what happened is, it was raining very heavily. So it was completely overcast, it was completely dark. And a tiger came in the cow shed. And because as soon as the tiger came, there was complete commotion. The cows started running helter and skelter. And the tiger, being extremely powerful, he caught one of the cows and he started taking that cow away. And the cow started piteously crying. She was crying very loudly. And Prishadra, he could not tolerate it. So immediately ran after the tiger who was carrying the cow with a sword in hand. But because it was completely dark, he could not distinguish, he could not make out. He was completely convinced that he is killing the tiger and he moved his sword very swiftly. But what happened is the cow died because of his sword's attack. And next day in the morning, he realized that, oh, I have killed a cow instead of killing the tiger. So he was very regretful, right? But as his guru, right, their Purohit, Vashishta, who was their Purohit, he became very angry. How come you have killed a cow, right? And he cursed him that you will become a Shudra in your next life. You will not get an opportunity to become a Kshatriya. You will become a Shudra in your next life. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that because he was innocent, right? He had all the right intentions, right? He should not have been punished like this. But see, I cannot comment on what Vashishta Rishi should have done or should not have done. But the reaction of Prishadra, it is very exemplary. Really how Vaishnavas respond in such situations. That is really a gold standard of how he responded. He did not argue. He did not give any explanation. He simply accepted. He simply accepted whatever Vashishta Muni said. And he gave up his kingly responsibilities. He was a prince. He had so many responsibilities. He took leave from them. He took retirement from them. Followed a life of complete celibacy. Focused his mind completely on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With whatever was available, he started living in the forest. With whatever was available, whatever he would get, he would maintain himself. And he lived a life of complete purity. And in that, by doing that, he completely pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And later on, when he quit his body, he went back home, back to Godhead. So it was aprarabdha karma. It was aprarabdha, right? He was supposed to suffer because of that. But because of taking shelter of the Lord, he became completely free from that. Now we can talk about prarabdha. Prarabdha means the sins for which we are suffering even now. Even now, even this body that we are having, that is prarabdha, right? It is because of it is because of the activities we have performed in the past. And it is said that even prarabdha is removed, right? By performance of devotional service. So how is that? How is prarabdha removed? Somebody takes to devotional service, it's not that he immediately gets 400 form and all, right? So we were reading in the morning Japa talks, right? Just a few days ago, right? So Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu was reading this. He just said that, when he said that, it really struck me. What he read was, see, when we perform devotional service, our subtle body is completely transformed. See, our gross body is a result of our subtle body. Whatever was there in our gross body, whatever was there in our subtle body, that is what generated our gross body. For example, when we write a book, right? We have so many devotees who write books and all, right? When you write a book, we have a soft copy, right? We make changes and the printout is taken using the soft copy. Now let's say that we want to improve the book, right? So what we do, yes, so Toshan Nimai Prabhu is nodding, right? Because he's writing so many books. So when we want to improve a book, what we do is we change the soft copy. We don't directly go and change the printouts, right? We change the soft copy. And what is going to happen is, when the second edition comes, when the next edition comes, when the next printout is taken, at that time it is going to use this soft copy. So all the later prints that will be coming from this. So what it does is, it removes all the sufferings from our subtle body. And it's only a matter of time. See, from the perspective of eternity, it happens in a flash, right? Even our gross body will change, right? Now today's verse is about how devotional service is effective and other methods, right? Bereft of devotional service, if somebody decides, I'll perform austerity and all, right? I'll perform tapasya. So we understand this, right? Somebody says, I understand this cycle, right? How papam works, how prarabdha works. So I will control my mind in such a way, right? Even without devotional service, right? I'll control my mind in such a way that I'll become free, right? Many people think like that I'll control my mind, and by mind control, I'll be able to accomplish this, right? A very nice example is given. So you see here, right? On one side, we have Arjuna riding on his chariot with Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as his chariot driver with horses and all. And the Shastras also give that the living entity, right, this body is also like a chariot, right? The living entity is riding on this chariot, right? So this, the body is like a chariot. The 5 senses are like the 5 horses. The mind is the reins, and there is intelligence is the driver. Now, if we compare these two situations, right? Arjuna has the Gandiva bow in his hand, and he has very formidable weapons. A typical living entity, but in particular a living entity in Kali Yuga, what is he having in his hands? Absolutely nothing. If you see in this picture, right, there is nothing. Right? There is nothing. The Arjuna's chariot, it is given by Agni. It is so formidable. On the 14th day of the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna had taken a vow that I will kill Jayadratha. The entire army of Kauravas, they had only one goal, and that was to stop Arjuna from reaching Jayadratha, right? And Arjuna, right, his only goal was how to reach Jayadratha and kill Jayadratha, right? So the entire army, with all its formidable warriors, the only thing that they were trying to do was stop his chariot, right? And they were attacking Arjuna with all force, not just him, right? They were attacking his chariot, they were attacking his horses, everything in their power they were doing, right? But Arjuna's chariot, still it was going with such speed, right? At times it is mentioned that his chariot was going at such a speed that he would shoot an arrow to kill an enemy, and before the arrow hit the enemy, his chariot would cross that enemy. That was the speed with which he was going. So unstoppable, unstoppable. And if you look at our chariot, right? You don't even need an enemy to stop it, right? If a mosquito bites or something, right? The chariot stops there only, right? If we look at horses, right? They were completely under the control of Lord Shri Krishna. Their horses are completely under the control. Once Karna shot an arrow, it was an invincible arrow, and he shot it at Arjuna's head. Krishna knew what was happening, right? Immediately with one signal, he made all the 4 horses sit. The chariot went down, the arrow hit Arjuna's helmet and became ineffective, and Arjuna was saved, right? With completely under the control of the chariot driver, Lord Shri Krishna. What are the horses? How are the horses of a living entity? Completely out of control. Wherever, whatever sense wants, right? They start roaming. Mind is completely unable to control, right? Completely unable to control the senses, right? Not only that, mind itself, right, is storehouse of so much nonsense, right? And intelligence, right? What to speak about intelligence? Who is Arjuna's chariot driver? Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nobody can be better than him. It is said that no one is a more mature or yogi. Nobody, right? In every way, he's superlative, right? He has Lord Shri Krishna as his chariot driver, right? And this Kali Yuga person, he is having his own intelligence as chariot driver. And where is the intelligence taking? See, intelligence is about discrimination, right? It is about decision making, right? From where is he taking his discrimination and intelligence? Usually from movies and all of that, right? So we can imagine, right, what is going to happen to this living entity. You see, Arjuna has a chariot marked with Hanumanji. Hanumanji is sitting on the chariot, right? He's sitting on the flag, and whenever Hanumanji roars, right, it strikes terror in the enemies, and he does not have any flag only, right? This living entity. So now in this is the qualification of Arjuna. And Arjuna knows how to perform austerities. He has pleased Lord Shiva. He has performed so many austerities, right? But simply by continuous practice of his using his Gandiva bow, right, he has so much mastery, right? When it comes to mind control, what is it that Arjuna says? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati, palavat, thrudam, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayurivasu dushkaram. Arjuna, my dear Lord Shri Krishna, you please don't ask me to control mind. If you want me to control a hurricane, I can do that, right? But control the mind, Hare Krishna, right? That I cannot do. So somebody who is so qualified, he is saying, I cannot control the mind, right? And if somebody says, some person in Kali Yuga says, I am going to control my mind, right? So we can understand, right? It's a farce, right? It's not going to work that way. At the same time, there is hope for the person in Kali Yuga. What is the hope, right? The process of self-realization has become so easy. It has become so easy. If we simply take to devotional service, right? The same person in Kali Yuga, right? All of a sudden he starts hearing the kartals. All of a sudden he starts hearing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He reads a book, right? How do people get a book? There is one nice devotee. So he told, right, how he came to Krishna consciousness. So he was born in a very rich family in the United States, to very rich parents in full of opulences and all of that, right? But he left all of that and became a hippie, right? And he started eating from garbage cans and trash cans and all of that, right? And somehow or the other, he was extremely fond of eating watermelons. So in India, if there are black spots on a watermelon, what we'll do is we'll remove that black spot, right? And we'll eat the rest of we'll offer and eat the rest of the watermelon. In US, what they do is if there is one black spot, they will throw it in the garbage can. So he saw a very nice watermelon floating on a nice garbage can, right? So he wanted to eat that. So he went there, he tried to grab that watermelon and it went inside. So he looked inside and there was Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Somebody had kept it over there. He got it, he took the watermelon also. He started reading the Gita. Now because of so many sins and all, right, he could not actually understand Bhagavad Gita at all, right? But one thing he understood, right, that we should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? And this Hare Krishna Mahamantra also, right? He was only reading the Gita. He had never heard the mantra. So H-A-R-E, they will pronounce as Hare, right? So he was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So, but by doing that, he was feeling so much ecstasy, right? He immediately found out where our devotees joined temples and he became a wonderful devotee. So there is hope. How? If we take shelter of the holy name. See, one thing, the most important thing that I'm trying to say is, we may not have anything, right? But Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. What we get in our hands is Golokera Premadhana, the highest, more powerful than any Pashupatastra or anything, right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, right? Along with His internal potency, they have made themselves available using the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if we chant it, if we take to it, right? No matter in what condition we are, right? We can get to the highest stage. We can get to the highest stage of devotional service. This is very nicely described. The entire process is very nicely described in, yes. How does it work? How does, we saw, right, the senses, mind, intelligence, all of that, right? How do all of them progress? Shrunuvatam swakata Krishna, punya shavana kirtana, hridyantasto yabhadrani, vidhunoti surut satam. Just by hearing, Shrunuvatam swakata Krishna. Who is hearing? The soul is hearing. And one more person is hearing, right? In our heart, there are two souls, right? We are also there and Krishna is also there and Krishna is also hearing. Shrunuvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana. What kind of Krishna? Krishna katha itself is the greatest piety. Punya shravana kirtana hridyantastohi abhadrani. Whatever nonsense is there within our heart, hridyantastohi abhadrani vidhunoti surut. He is our dearmost well-wishing friend. Vidhunoti surut satam. He is the one who cleanses. This is the verse we recite every day. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatiruttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. And by doing that, by regularly attending, coming for the classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, by regularly hearing Bhagavatam, serving the pure devotee Bhagavatam, a devotional service becomes irrevocably placed within our heart. All the Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu, all the abhadras are almost completely destroyed. What happens after that? Tadarajastamo bhava kama lobhadayasche Cheta etera navidham stitam satve prasidati. the effects of Rajogun, Tamagun, they are completely eliminated and a person gets situated in goodness. Evam prasanna manaso. See, first it started with the senses. Ata Shri Krishna namadi na bhavet graham indriya sevan mukhe hi jivado swayam eva spuratyada. We start engaging our senses and now we can see that the mind is transformed. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. And one gets the association of completely liberated persons. Vidyate hridaya granthis. All the knots within our heart, they are completely slashed off. Chidyante sarva samshaya. Doubting is the quality of intelligence. Chidyante sarva samshaya. All the doubts are removed. Even our intelligence is purified. Chidyante sarva samshaya. Kshiyante chasa karmani. The entire chain of fruitive activities is eliminated. Drushta eva atmanishvare, when we get darshan of the Lord. So, such a beautiful, by taking to devotional service, all stages, right? All stages of sin, they are completely eliminated. What we need is determination. Point is, we are small and we know the story of a small bird, right? It had lost its eggs to the ocean. It was determined, the bird was determined that I will, once, for those who don't know, right? A bird had laid its eggs on a beach. And when the waves came, they took the eggs along with them. So the bird said, I am going to retrieve this, my eggs. And for that, I will dry up the ocean. How? I will pick up one beak full of water and I will throw it somewhere else. And that is how I will dry up the ocean. So it actually started doing that. And because it started doing that, Garuji came to the rescue of the bird and it said, now I will dry it up. Ocean, you better give the eggs, otherwise I am going to dry up. So this is our position. We are small, but we are taking shelter of the big. We are taking shelter of senior devotees. We are taking shelter of the acharyas. We are taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, Lord Shri Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? We are small, they are big. And by taking their shelter, right, they will do what is impossible for us. Even cleaning our heart is impossible for us, but it is possible for Lord Shri Krishna. Now there are more differences between devotional service and just dry tapasya and all, right? Why? Because devotional service is carried out under the internal energy of the Lord, right? There is taste, there is focus, there is nectar that a devotee gets, right? By chanting Hare Krishna mantra, by focusing on the Lord, right? This taste is not available when somebody performs dry tapasya. That is why the person is more prone, right, to falling down, right? We know the story of Vishwamitra Muni. He was engaged in such severe tapasya, right? Such severe penances, such severe austerities. But he got distracted. He got distracted first by Menka, right? And he enjoyed, after 10 years of enjoyment, he realized that, oh, I have deviated from my path. And then he again went back. He again went back to the path of austerities, right? And again, right, it was Ramba who came the next time. And this time, Vishwamitra Muni knew that this is a trap. This is a trap to make me fall down. So he was determined that I will not fall a prey to lust, right? But he fell a prey to anger, right? He cursed Ramba. See, actually, Ramba was reluctant. She was not willing to actually come and entice Vishwamitra Muni, right? She was doing it under higher instructions. It was actually not her fault, right? But Vishwamitra Muni could not control his anger, and because of that, again, he lost the piety, right? The results that he had obtained from his austerity. If we compare that with Haridas Thakur, right, who was constantly engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? It is said that our mind, it is, see, on a television, right, there can be so many hundreds of channels, but only one channel plays on that television. Which is that channel? The channel that we tune into, right? Now, there may be one transmitting station which is close by, which is transmitting its channels. There may be another transmitting station which is very far, right, which is transmitting its channel. But the only channel that will play, it is not the one which is close by. It is that channel which we are tuning into, right? So Haridas Thakur, he was completely tuned into service to the Lord by constant chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Right? Haridas Thakur was completely tuned into that. And because of this, right, when the prostitute came to deviate him from his vows of chanting, he was completely unaffected. And the reaction that Haridas Thakur gave, it is so exemplary in how a devotee, Vaishnava, reacts, right? He did not immediately engage in any sins, and he did not say no also. Right? He did not say no to the prostitute. He says, it's a good proposal. We'll do it after some time. Right? See, there are so many ways of, temptations, right? In the case of Haridas Thakur, his mind was completely pure, right? But a prostitute came to entice him. In our case, right, our mind, I'm speaking about myself, right? Mind itself is impure, right? So the mind keeps giving so many proposals, right? And then there are so many ways of dealing with this mind. Radhesham Prabhu, in one of his classes, he gave so many ways of dealing with the mind. One technique he gave is ignore the mind. Right? Srila Prabhupada says this. When you are chanting Hare Krishna and the mind goes somewhere else, he said, why do you want to worry? Just ignore it. Right? You focus on your hearing. So you ignore it. Right? If somebody is waiting at a signal and a beggar comes, if that person simply ignores the beggar goes away. Right? Sometimes simply ignoring does not work, right? For example, in this case, right, in the case of Haridas Thakur, if he had simply ignored, it would not have worked, right? In that case, what do you say? Okay, it's a good proposal, later. We don't say yes, we don't say no, we say later, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, beat the mind, right? Chant so much Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? Morning, evening, even if you don't want to chant, right? Go on chanting, right? That is beating the mind. Srila Prabhupada said, if we are being disturbed by our senses, right, what Srila Prabhupada recommended is recite the verses of Bhagavad Gita. If we simply recite the Sanskrit shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, that is such a nice technique of overcoming the dictations of our mind, right? So many, right, a warrior has got so many astra shastras in his, so this, we are in a war, right? We have to have so many techniques, right, in our armory also, right, how to deal with the disturbances of the mind. So these are some of the various things that we can engage in. And another big difference is devotional service benefits everyone. If I simply perform austerity, it's only going to benefit me, right? But by performance of devotional service, it benefits each and every living entity. Just as by watering the root of a tree, all the branches and leaves are automatically watered. Simply by performing devotional service, all the living entities are benefited. So, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas Thakur, right, how will all the living entities, right, plants, animals, birds, trees, how will they be delivered? He said, simply by your chanting, right? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through the forest of Jharkhand, he was doing kirtan and it appeared that an echo is coming. But Haridas Thakur said, no, it was actually the kirtan of the trees. It was actually the kirtan of the plants. So, by devotees chanting, but of course by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chanting, he can penetrate the hearts of every living entity, right? But we can also make a difference, right? Devotees chanting, it benefits everyone. Right? And we covered this aspect, right? That when Lord takes it upon himself to cleanse something, he can do it superlatively well, right? We find that in Gundisha Marshanam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleaning Gundisha temple and all the devotees, hundreds and hundreds of devotees were there. They were also cleaning the Gundisha temple. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu created a heap from all the straws and dust that they collected. And all the devotees together, they also created another heap. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heap was far bigger than the combined heap of all the other devotees. So, just to show that when we take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, the cleaning that we get, Prabhuji was just speaking about preaching. Actually, everything we do in this movement is preaching, right? Everything that we do, whether it is cleaning the temple, deity worship, everything is preaching. And when we take to the preaching movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's forced to clean us, right? Because if we are representing the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, without being clean, right, we cannot do anything, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we start acting as his representatives, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he, out of his causeless mercy, he himself cleanses our heart, right? He himself takes to our purification. Now, there was one more important point that I wanted to say. Is it that austerities are not important? Right? So, dry austerities, devoid of devotional service, they don't produce the results. But in devotional service, right, whenever something is performed under the instruction of the Lord, whenever something is performed under the direction of senior devotees, right, even those austerities become devotional service, right? When Brahma was born on the lotus, he did not know anything, right? But he heard two syllables, ta, pa. And he took it as the instruction of the Lord and he started engaging in tapasya, right? And from that, he got complete knowledge. He got empowered to create this whole creation, right? So, by performing devotional service, only he was able to do that, right? Dhruva Maharaj, he performed such austerities. And we find most important thing in the case of Dhruva Maharaj also is that his heart was transformed. By the time the Lord gave him darshan, he had completely lost desire for any kind of revenge, any kind of gain, any kind of kingdom and all. Our Goswamis, they performed austerities. Living under a different tree every single day, chanting so many rounds. Raghunath Das Goswami, he would chant 2 lakh names of the Lord, right? He would offer 1000 obeisances to Lord Shri Krishna. He would offer 2000 obeisances to the devotees, right? That was the level of austerity. The austerities that Srila Prabhupada went through. Whether he was in India when he was writing his books, even going over Jaladuta, starting the Krishna consciousness movement single-handedly, directing such a big movement. It was such a big austerity. But staying up all night, right, to translate his books, to give us his books. And devotees carrying on his movement, right? They are engaging in so many austerities. Now it is the time for book distribution, right? Devotees engage in so many austerities for distributing books. That is also tapasya. But this tapasya is pure devotional service. It purifies our heart, benefits the world, and helps us go back home, back to Godhead. I'll stop here. Any questions, comments, corrections? Sundarsham Prabhu, I learned to play kartals also from you, Prabhu. I remember you were traveling in a train to Gopinath temple and at that time you had taught me how to play kartals. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Very nice, well-prepared class and very nice. I mean, if I understood properly, in the beginning you spoke about, you took the word sense gratification and
Yes,
how that material desires come, because you spoke avidya, kama, karma,
Prabhu.
these, and then prarabdha, aprarabdha, that cycle you
Yes, Prabhu.
explained,
Yes, Prabhu.
and how to control senses. You gave the example of chariot,
Yes, Prabhu.
that
Yes, Prabhu.
chariot, and
Yes, Prabhu.
Haridas Thakur and what is that? Viswamitra Muni.
Yes, Prabhu.
How if you take shelter of mighty, then you can control yourself.
Yes, Prabhu.
So I also was focusing more on, in the purport, the highlight, I feel that it
Yes,
is
Prabhu.
like material desires. One
Prabhu.
should be free from material desires, because
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhupada writes that material desires should be immediately stopped.
Yes, Prabhu.
Otherwise, the austerities, tapasya, the penances, and what dan.
Yes,
that
Prabhu.
that is. They may remove they may remove the sinful reactions, but they may not remove the sinful desires.
Yes, Prabhu.
So,
Yes, Prabhu.
so I wanted to know, like, Prabhupada also quotes in the purport
Yes, Prabhu.
that if you are, material desires means sense gratification.
Yes,
Prabhupada writes that, but sense gratification involves activities which are more or less sinful, he writes.
Yes, Prabhu.
I just wanted to know, like, the sense gratificatory tendency in mode of goodness,
Yes, Prabhu.
how that is more or less sinful. Means
Yes,
it might be
Prabhu.
less
Yes,
sinful,
Prabhu. Yes,
but
Prabhu.
I just wanted to understand
It is yes,
that.
Prabhu. It is a very good question, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. It is a very good question. See, let's say that we decide to stay in the mode of goodness, right? See, it is the nature of this material world, right? It is the nature of this material world that it is not possible to stay purely in the mode of goodness, right? It is in this world, the influences of other modes are always there. So staying in pure goodness, it just does not become possible. We saw the story of Prince Prushadra, right? He had every intention. He had every good intention, right? But that is the nature of this world, that something or the other happens, right? And we end up committing mistakes because we are not perfect, because our mind and senses are not perfect. Even if we have every intention of being in the mode of goodness, it does not remain possible, just because there are the influences of mode of passion and ignorance also. Let's say I am in the mode of goodness today, right? I may go to the heavenly planets, right? There I will be for very long time. After that, again I will come back here, and after coming back, under what influence I will be, I don't know at that time. After I have exhausted all my past activities. So if I am staying in this material world, see, if you go in a coal mine, right? It is not possible only that you will not get black stains. If you have entered a coal mine and you have all white clothes, you have every intention of staying away, but it is not possible. If it is raining, right, we may take every precaution, but it is not possible that some water will not fall on us, right? If we are in the ocean, right, it is not possible that we will not get wet. So if we are in this material world, it is just not possible that by ourselves we will be able to protect ourselves from the modes of passion and ignorance. See, sangat sanjayate kama. You will be in the mode of goodness at all times, but can you guarantee that your sangha, your association will also be in that same mode of goodness? Then you will catch the other modes also, one way or the other. See, Prince Prishadra, he was not trying to get into any kind of trouble, right? But still the problems came. That is the nature of this world, Prabhu. It cannot be avoided. So the lower modes, even with our best intentions, they cannot be avoided. So it is only a matter of time that we will engage in sins. That is one thing. And that is only at one level, Prabhu. At another level, it is said that even if we are thinking that I am pious, because that is not the desire of the Lord that we should simply continue with our piety, right? At one level, even that is not good. Even material piety is not good. Why? Because we are keeping the Lord bereft of the services that we could have been rendering to Him. So, see, the sense of proprietorship, I am good, even that, thinking that I am pious in front of Lord, that is also a sin, Prabhu. Thinking that I am good, Huh? And that is also the one of the beating, right? That Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, now our mind, we should give our mind. Because we think that, oh, I am so nice, I am so wonderful. That is simply another dictation of Maya only. So even thinking that I am good, that can also be a problem. And that can stop us from taking to devotional service. So that is also a problem, Prabhu. So I hope that helps to some extent, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your beautiful class. As you mentioned that somebody takes to preaching this Krishna consciousness,
Yes,
as
Prabhu.
every activity in Krishna consciousness is preaching.
Yes, Prabhu.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like helplessly forced to purify us. So I would like to know more about
Yes,
it.
Prabhu. Prabhu, no matter how we look at it, right? No matter how we approach it, right? If we are so preaching, right? Let's say the direct activity of going to somebody, right? Now, unless a person who is speaking to someone else, unless that person is pure, unless that person has potency, right? Can that person transform the heart of anyone? That is not possible, right? We have to be instruments of in the hands of the Lord, right? We have to be instruments of the Lord's mercy, right? So if the pipe itself, let's say that we have to connect, uh, some tap to a water source, right? If the pipe itself is impure, even if the water flowing is pure, right? That person is not going to get pure water, right? Because the pipe is impure, right? So, but the Lord wants that this person should get pure love, and this person should get pure bhakti. So what the Lord is forced to do is He is forced to clean whoever is in the way, right? So if we try to act as the Lord's mercy, if we try to act as instruments of the Lord's mercy, the Lord becomes eager to purify us, so that there is good effect on, there is proper effect on others, because the Lord wants all the living entities to come to Him. So, any other?
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanande. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare. I heard it in my class, Prabhu.